Welcome to Radio Row, live from New Orleans for Super Bowl 59. I'm Roy Kessel with Sports Philanthropy Network, and we're very excited to have with us special guest today, Brad Edwards. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. We know it's a very, very hectic week for you here. You're involved with so many different initiatives. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing down here.
Yeah, we're doing a lot, and obviously I'm the CEO for NFL Alumni, and we represent thousands of former players, coaches, cheerleaders, front office staff, partners that we have here. So it's a big activation week for us. One to engage with each other, engage with our former players, promote the causes. We are a nonprofit organization. We live in that space between the NFL on one side, the Players Association on the other. And so our mission is caring for our own, filling in the gaps of care for former players, caring for kids. We do tons of kids philanthropy work around food assistance programs, mentoring programs, camps, childhood literacy programs, and a lot of determinant of health programs that fill in our caring for community, the third leg of our mission on that stool.
Well, it's amazing. You've got such a broad reach, right? When we think about players' careers, average career is barely 3 years
Right.
in the NFL. So their ability to make an impact in the community stretches for decades and decades beyond that.
Yeah, it
So,
really
so
does.
talk about how you are able to engage your chapters and groups around the
Yeah,
country.
I'll do that. We have 38 chapters around the country in almost every major DMA or wherever pretty much there is an NFL team. We have a chapter there. And so while we are a membership organization, the largest part of our organization is a 501c3. And so for our chapters and our players, what we do for them, one of the many things we do is we provide the whole infrastructure and the framework for the C3 for them under our shield, under the NFL Alumni Shield, which is the most recognized alumni mark in pro sports, certainly in this country. But we do all the accounting, all the compliance, all the legal work within that one C3 for them at a local level. So they can go out and decide, hey, we want to partner with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We want to partner with Tackle Hunger. We want to partner with the CDC on a particular cause. And so we just support all the infrastructure around that and help promote it. And we raise a little north of $1 million a year on average over the last decade, for third party charities.
Well, and I think what's really interesting is I love the motto where you're allowing the chapters to make their own decisions. I'm based in Chicago. We work closely with the RPFPC and
Right.
a lot of the work that those guys are doing. The NFL alumni's got its side of things. I know there's always a little bit of tension and rivalry there. And yet
Not
it's
from us,
and,
but
and yet it's the same
yeah,
guys
right.
usually that are active in the community on both sides of that ledger.
That's right. And we try to, I'm a big tent guy. And this is really a passion for me and how we grow and scale. And yes, there is territorialism that happens, unfortunately. And we try to mitigate that wherever we can. In many cases at the highest level, we all get along. And then sometimes in the streets, it gets a
Yeah.
little territorial, but we love everyone in the space. And it is a busy space on the benefit side, in the NFL is, because you have so many entities offering benefits to former players. And a lot of times while we do that too, filling in those gaps of care, like I mentioned, it's also being a directional agent. Like, here's where you go to get your vision and dental benefits. Here's where you go to get the distributed hospital network, or orthopedic benefit. And there's a lot of value because it's not always clear where you go as a former player to get what. But these guys are so philanthropic, like you mentioned, and it doesn't end when their careers end. It only grows.
Well, and then they've got more time, right? They have the ability and luxury that a lot of people don't have of a good financial head start, even though we hear some of the negative stories. Most of the players really took it seriously
Absolutely.
and guarded some of their assets and built up that currency, so to speak, in their community. So you're down here now. You've got a few new initiatives that you're really
Right.
focused on. So tell
Yeah.
us
Yeah. We've got one we're real excited. We've done a ton of work with the CDC in the past. They really probably are our biggest partner in the grant space. We have one on colorectal cancer that we're just kicking off now. That's a national campaign. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of death in the United States. and the symptoms aren't always there. And so being able to detect that, particularly and particularly for men, to get out and get those colonoscopies. Many times they're going to avoid that, but it's you got to go do it. And I have my mother, and I'm not sharing anything that's HIPAA protected, has dealt with colorectal cancer. So I've been doing this for 10, 15 years now, in getting these exams, and you just got to go do it. And so on our site, NFLA gearup.org/cancer, you can find everything that we're doing on that site, and it's a terrific sponsorship. Again, we'll go out nationally.
And you talked about the fact that men often don't want to talk about it, right?
Right.
We're healthy, we're young, we're playing ball. Like, that's not our focus. It's like, I don't want to show any weakness. I don't want
It's
to.
almost until it smacks you in the face, you're not going to do anything about it. And
Right.
and we, in the same thing on the weight or obesity side, we have another campaign, our On 3 Weight Health Hike, which is getting that message out, normalizing that it's not it's not something to be ashamed, it's something to embrace. And there are pathways to health and wellness and healthy living and exercise, and getting to a comfortable weight, that you're not adding more stress to an already, in some cases, damaged frame.
Well, I think that weight and obesity, right? We see it now. We've got watches that measure our movement, they measure our sleep, they do everything else. But you look around,
But half
right?
the population is still dealing with it.
People
and it's
are
growing.
people are still obese. Ozempic is the new hip thing to help
Right.
people lose weight, but that's really just treating.
And the
symptom,
heart, and the
not
right,
the
it's
cause.
treating the symptom. And the heart health, cardiovascular impacts are really the hugest, the will be the greatest beneficiary of that weight loss ultimately. And obviously there are lots of residual issues that happen with diabetes and other other illnesses, but cardiovascular is really one that's will be tremendously impacted.
Well, and it's interesting because you take a look here at Radio Row, right? Certainly not a bastion of health food walking
Right.
around
I was talking about this a while
as-
ago, and our staff said, "You're talking about this while we're eating chicken wings." I was
right.
like, "Well, don't eat the
and-
chicken
and
wings."
the chicken wings are probably one of the healthiest things. You go up in the media room and it's
like, don't eat that.
all carbs all day as
Right.
chips and donuts and things like that. The
You
king
cannot-
cake, king cake sweet.
And I say it all the time. Yeah. For a guy that runs 30 miles a week, I'm like, no matter if you're doing that or not, you can't out exercise your diet. That's just a reality.
And that's one of the things I think people underestimate. I know I've had diabetes in my family and the things for, I have got the little sensor on here.
Right.
So to help
real-
me keep
yeah.
track. But it's something that reinforces that. It shows me, like, if I eat poorly, I'm going to see that
Right.
number change. I may not feel anything, but it's important to understand that. And I think as you're talking about these initiatives, right, it's getting the players to be open about it
Right.
helps that trickle down, because if they're talking about it while they're in the league,
Yeah.
then that's going to help college players. That's going to help high school and youth players understand, like, I
And
can be open about
right.
this.
And they really become these beacons of trust and inspiration. And that's the way most of our campaigns run is, we build a national campaign, and then our players, they come in and amplify and create awareness around these issues, because they have a voice, and they really truly are voices of trust and inspiration back to, many times underrepresented communities.
So what I want to ask is what we ask of everybody here, right? A Sports Philanthropy Network, what can we do as a community to help support the efforts that you're involved
Yeah,
in?
it's awareness. It's awareness, partnering with us on any kind of awareness campaign, amplifying that message for us. That's what our partners have done, and done really well. I think over about the last 24 to 28 months, our campaigns have driven about 4.8 billion impressions, 4.5 billion impressions, somewhere in that range. And, so we're doing a good job. And if you could be a part of that awareness and just getting the word out, and it's just more effective than maybe other forms of advertising, we're finding.
Well, Brad, but I know you filled out one of these wall of philanthropy
Right.
cards here. We're
Yep.
going to have you stick it on and tell us, we'll put it right over here. Tell us what that cause is and why you picked that.
Yeah,
as your passion.
it really is. It just goes back to our mission, and it's just not one cause for us, but it's our mission is a three-legged stool. One of which is caring for former players, like I mentioned, filling in the gaps of care for them, and there are players that did not make a lot of money, that have struggled, whether it's addiction or what have you. There are those players, and we have a real heart for them. And they may not be vested players. A lot of the leagues, a lot of the benefits that are out there are really geared toward vested players. The preponderance of them are non-vested players that live. So that's part of it. Caring for kids, that is really part of our charter, is teaching kids about the sport of football and using that to build lifelong lessons and skill sets that'll benefit them through life. And then caring for community, spreading these awareness campaigns about healthy lifestyles and those sorts of things. So
Brad, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on with us. We appreciate all your hard work. We're going to get you involved with our Sports Philanthropy World Conference, June 26th and
Would
27th
love to be there.
in Chicago. So thank you for taking the time. And for all of our viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us live on Radio Row from Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. This is Roy Kessel signing off for Sports Philanthropy Network. Please remember to live generously.